Developing apps with high levels of user experience and quality, within budget and on time, in a constantly changing environment is a very demanding task. During our 6 years of experience in the app market, Nomtek has optimized its delivery methodology based on agile techniques which allow for maximum value with a minimum set of technical notions and rules. The goals of our methodology are to deliver a fit-for-purpose product with exceptional user experiences, while maintaining fast change adoption, as well as quality and always having budget control. Before describing how those goals are achieved, we would like to familiarize you with the basic blocks of the whole process, sort of a theoretical background. The first one is the user story. A user story explains a piece of functionality in a form of a sentence. As a role, I want goal. Example: as a user, I want to buy a new tie. Each user story must have the following important traits. Its implementation must bring business value. It must be understandable and testable for our customer. It must be implementable within a short period of time. Approaching a software project in this manner has an essential positive impact on all the goals of our methodology. In the mobile software industry in particular, there are many types of elements that have to be delivered for each user story. We use a metaphor of a production line through which the user stories have to proceed in order to be delivered. The major stages are specification, which includes user experience, graphics, estimations, and so on. Implementation, which includes quality assurance. And acceptance. Each stage is represented by one color. Specification is blue, implementation is yellow, and acceptance is green. The three general stages are divided into more detailed statuses of Nomtek standard workflow, where each user story always has one of the statuses assigned. As it is very expensive to discover and repair problems at the wrong stage, the key to our quality process are the takeover procedures between the stages. Before a user story can move from specification to implementation, we verify it with the definition of ready. The definition of ready is a set of conditions where a user story is ready for implementation. We consider it to be ready if its documentation is clear and understandable. It is implementable in a short period of time without any dependencies, such as API or graphics. It is testable by a non-technical person. Before the user story is sent to the acceptance stage, it is examined against the definition of done. This definition states that the user story is prepped for release if quality assurance tasks such as code review, automated and manual tests, and so forth are performed and passed. User experience is accepted by the internal lead developer. There are several roles designated for each project which maintain constant development and business progression. The most important is the product owner. The PO defines the very product, sets its priorities, determines the expected quality levels, designates the budgets, and accepts the deliveries. Next in line is the delivery leader, who takes responsibility for Nomtek's contractual deliveries. Delivery leaders oversee and make sure that the project is developed according to our methodology goals. This person verifies each user story with the definition of done. Delivery leaders are responsible for the success of our customer. The rest of the designated team constitutes of UX designers, graphic designers, software developers, and testers, with each group having a selected, adequate set of responsibilities. Now that you know all the basic blocks, let us show you how we do it in practice. We divide the whole project into the following steps. During an organized business workshop, we capture the business requirements of the future app. We discuss the reality of the project, such as value proposition, customer segments, and revenue streams, both internally and with our customer. One of the main goals is to create personas. Those are hypothetical representatives of the customer segments and determine their pains and gains. Through this process, we can clearly set the conditions for fulfilling the expectations of the project and, thus, achieving the fit-for-purpose goal. Once the business workshop is completed and we have gathered all the business requirements, we create preliminary user stories based on those requirements which address the previously found pains and gains. Those user stories are later divided into even smaller user stories in order to meet the conditions of the definition of ready. With preliminary user stories formed, black and white wireframes are designed and created by specialized UX designers to address the user experience aspect of each user story. It is even possible for us to produce a working prototype at this stage to visualize the flow. We provide a proposal of the analytical tools to be included within the applications which measure user activities. Our programmers are also trained in user experience concepts, especially in guidelines for the mobile platforms they develop. Next, additional visuals are added to the wireframes such as branding, colors, and images, so that we can present a choice of alternative graphical concepts. All of this is to ensure exceptional user experience as part of our methodology goals. A moment ago, I said that preliminary user stories are divided into smaller ones later. Now that we have all that input, it is time to dissect preliminary user stories into a list of smaller, implementable pieces so that they can be estimated in order to provide a time frame for implementing each piece, or rather the final and adequate user story. And start continuous progress, where user stories can be implemented one by one. The statuses of user stories are presented on Kanban boards. A board is built of columns, and each column represents one or more Nomtek standard workflow statuses and contains the cards of all user stories within these statuses. User stories progress through the columns in the same way as through a production line, from to specify, via to estimate, to do, in progress, and quality assurance, to acceptance, and finally closed. The position of the story within the column determines its priority. The higher it is on the list, the higher the priority. At any time, the order of user stories to be implemented can be changed by dragging them to the top of the to-do column. This allows for having a very detailed control over work priorities and actively adjusting to any changes, thus fulfilling the fast change adoption goal. We can speed up the process by assigning multiple developers to implement user stories in parallel. On the user story level, quality is achieved by the basic production line and definition of done with quality assurance tasks performed by the developers and QA personnel. During the project, we use tools like Jira with an agile add-on for managing work items and their statuses, generating documentation, displaying the project's Kanban boards for our methodology, and comparing our pace against our estimations. We also utilize our own service called Nomtek Logic for tracking of contractual deliveries and measuring global project condition in terms of budget, deadlines, quality, and acceptance with our delivery dashboard. Through those tools, we can maintain and achieve the last of our methodology goals, which is complete budget control. Nomtek provides full customer training in the use of our tools. Yes, we know, all of this seems very complex. But then again, developing apps is no small task, and we have tailored our process to allow customers to determine their level of involvement in the project at any point during its life cycle. If you choose to be our customer, then all of this has been made specifically for you. Let us know what you think. Cheers!